we used to have an opt-out statement. We actually had an opt-out statement before this one. This one actually came from a first round of testing that we did with David Cole and his team about 3 years ago. When I started in the business, we didn't really understand who our customers were or why we wanted to talk to them or how we wanted to talk to them. So the first thing that I wanted to do was make sure that the consent that we were getting was reasonable, and we were trying to get more consent. As an organisation, we send vast amounts of direct mail. So we send about 32 million sheets of paper every year out in the post. The majority of our customers are of an older generation, so as David's already picked on today. People like to be spoken to in slightly different ways, and we were very focused around our DM activity and sending out sheets of paper and making sure that our older customers understood what they were getting and why they were getting it. This statement didn't contain any hyperlinks, it didn't contain any contact information because it was attached to a sheet of paper, so there's an application form at the bottom of the sheet, so it becomes very difficult to make it usable or functional in any way. And of course, a bit like everybody else, if this was your sheet of paper, our consent statement was about here, down the bottom. Because it's an opt-out statement, and in all honesty, we didn't want you to see it, because if you saw it, then you might tell us that you didn't want to hear from us. So we hid it away, and it did what it was supposed to do. People continued to get mail and didn't understand why they were getting it, but it was what it was there for. What we wanted to do is understand what the impact of that was. So certainly as we moved towards a change in regulation and we knew it was coming, we wanted to be better, we wanted to be in a better position. So we started to look at it, and that's why we called David and his team in. So we were getting fantastic consent, but you're not getting consent because nobody's actually giving you consent. They're just not giving you their consent, if that sort of makes sense. So you're not actually getting any engagement, you're just getting people not telling you what they want from you. So the first thing we wanted to do was take that back to the business and take that back to the marketing guys and say, look, this is really good, but actually we're not getting any consent. People don't know what they're giving their information for, so you keep sending out this marketing, but some of these people probably don't want it, and it's probably costing us a lot of money. So is there something that we can do about that? So we decided to change it again. So we thought GDPR was coming in. We're not really interested in having an opt-out statement and an opt-in statement and making it confusing. The GDPR talks a lot about consent being clear and unambiguous, and certainly it's looking with e-privacy like email is going to be moving to potentially an opt-in basis, but it seemed like a sensible approach to take, so we decided to test it in that way. The first thing we wanted to do was make it clearer for people to understand. So rather than having it batched up, we tried to break it down. So we spend a lot of time in our business making sure that our products are clearly laid out so that people understand exactly what they're buying, because that's what the SCA tells us to do. So we started thinking, okay, well, why don't we talk to our customers about how they want us to communicate them in the same way that we try and make our products clear and understandable. So we started to break it down and using bullet points and trying to make it more clear and understanding. The response was good. People were happier, they were more comfortable with the information that we were giving them, they had a better understanding of it, and they started to feel more comfortable in potentially saying, okay, I don't mind hearing from you in a certain channel, in a certain way. It was still lower than we probably want it, bearing in mind we had a 70–80% non-consent rate that was a consent rate, so we wanted to make sure that we weren't losing too many customers. So we ran it through again, and again we changed it slightly. We added a couple more bullet points just to make it a bit clearer. As I say, a lot of our customers are older, the older generation, so insurance-minded people. And they're very cautious with their information. They don't want that information to be shared with other people. So we called that out, and that was one of the things that we made explicitly clear, that we don't share your information with anybody else for any marketing purposes or for anything. It's only for us to use. Make it clearer that you can change your mind at any time, and we'll make it easy for you to do that as well, and we'll put those processes in place. And we ran it through again, and it started to get much better feedback again. People again were more comfortable, people were happier to consent to certain channels. That allowed us to bump up a couple of the metrics, so we started to get some higher consent levels in at least 1 or 2 channels. For us, interestingly, email went up. Now, we only really started sending email about 4 years ago. I started 5 years ago, and we got a digital marketing guy in, and he was told, here's £250,000, go and find out about this digital stuff that people keep talking about. You know, why do we want to send emails? Let's see, why do we need to do that? So we spent a little bit of money, and the business went, oh, okay, this email's very clever, isn't it? Well, yeah, it is. You don't have to send paper all the time, you know, you can do other things. But the DMs stayed the big channel. It was the way we talked to everybody. What this allowed us to do was to go to the marketing guys and go to the business and say, people don't always want to have sheets of paper through their door anymore. People like having an email, you know. People have a social conscience. They don't want to waste paper. You know, they have an environmental conscience. People like to be communicated in different ways, as David was saying. So it gave us that leverage to say to the business, you need to invest differently. You need to look at how you're speaking to our customers and change our approach slightly.